On a deep exhale, can you step that foot between the hands as high up as you can, square towards the mat as you draw, lift that leg up and back. Reach up, maybe palms press up above you. And exhale. Hello and welcome. This is FitScope, and my name is Alessandra, and I will be guiding you through a 25-minute yoga sequence focused on opening your hips. Very, very common. I think it's all of us have some tightness in our hips just from life, maybe sitting, driving, even walking around, or if you're sportive, active, whatever. Hips are this like main kind of artery of our bodies that get very tight with anything that we do. So just going to address those areas. So front hips, the psoas, outer hips, kind of like piriformis, maybe hamstring action as well. Inner thighs a little bit, outer thighs, just kind of just targeting the whole pelvic region. So let's start lying down on our backs, please. So I have 2 yoga blocks with me. Just have something handy, maybe yoga blocks or maybe some thick books to give yourself a little bit of height if you need that later on. I was also sitting on a yoga blanket. It can just be like a rolled up towel or something in case you want some height, again, for when we sit in certain postures. So you're going to start lying down on your back, please. We're going to start in a supported Supta Baddha Konasana. It's bound angle pose. So you're going to bring the bottoms of your feet together and the knees out to the sides. So you can create this and make it supported by bringing blocks underneath your thighs. And I'll demo what that looks like. And again, maybe it's just big, thick books just to support your legs. If this position of the legs is very taxing and feels like a lot of sensation in your hips, then you can give yourself that support. If you don't need that support and you want to try without them, then you can just try without them. And whatever you chose, your arms are down by your sides, just finding relaxation here, giving it a couple of moments. And as you lie down on the mat this way, just start to bring your awareness to your breath. As you bring your awareness to your breath, maybe find an ujjayi breath, that base of the throat breath that comes in and out through your nose. Maybe. This class is not going to be focused as much on building heat. So if you want to just use your autonomous breath, that's fine. Just bring your awareness to it. And let's take 2 more breaths here. Already starting to open up the hips a lot. With the help of your hands, gather the legs back together. And gently hug your knees in towards your chest. And as you draw those knees in towards your chest, you're going to start to create circles with the legs. So 1 knee in each hand, you're going to start to move the knees around in circles. So kind of opening and closing the legs, moving them in towards the body, then away from you. Just coming into little circles here. Just getting into those nooks and crannies of the hips. And then whatever direction the circles were going in, just switch the direction of those circles. And again, moving the knees away from you and then in towards the body, out to the sides, in towards one another, just full circles. Then just keep the knees hugging in. Keep your right knee hugging in, extend the left leg out onto the mat, flexing through both feet. You can gently think of drawing the inner thighs towards one another. That leg is rooted on the mat on the left side. Your hips are even on the mat. Draw your right hip away from your chest as you draw that knee in. Now let's turn this into a twist. Right arm out to the side. Just drop that knee off towards the left. Squaring the backs of your shoulders with the mat. And gently bring that knee back to center, hugging both knees in towards your chest again, extending the right leg onto the mat, keeping the left knee hugging in. As you draw that knee in, think inner thighs drawing towards one another. That's going to lengthen your left side body a little bit. Flexing through both feet, right leg is rooted. Let's take this for a twist, gently dropping that knee off towards the right. Left arm extends out to the side. Can you square the shoulders onto the mat, like the backs of the shoulders? Can you lengthen your left hip away from your chest, get long in the left side body? And gently bring that knee back to center, hugging both knees in towards your chest. And then make your way up to a seat. You can extend your left arm up and back behind you, rock to your left side, and prop yourself up to a seat. So coming up to a seat, let's cross the shins. So crossing right shin in front of the left to start. Maybe you sit up on a blanket. If it feels like those frontal hip flexors are a little tight when you sit up, then sit up on a blanket. A little bit of a flex through your feet, reach the arms straight up towards the sky, and exhale, forward fold over the legs. So depending on the openness in your hips, you might start to feel this in the right outer hip a little bit. So just lengthening, forward folding. And relaxing everything down here, neck, face, everything down. And gently walk the hands back towards your legs and switch the crossing of your shins. Opposite shin in front, a little bit of a flex through your feet, trying to cross at the center of your shins. Reach those arms up towards the sky. First, get long through the front body and the back body. And exhale, start to forward fold over the legs. A little bit of a flex through the feet. As you forward fold, relax everything down. Arms, neck, face. Breathing into where you feel this, probably in that outer hip area, maybe a little bit in the back body as well. And gently walk the hands back towards your legs. Great job. And bring the bottoms of your feet together. So same thing we did when we were lying down, but now you're sitting up. So bottoms of the feet together. You can bring the hands onto the tops of your feet. And start to open up your feet, relaxing through the legs. Can you open up the feet like you would the pages of a book, lengthen through the spine? Maybe you forward fold a little bit here. A little bit of a flex through your toes. Taking 2 more breaths here. And gently make your way back up. If you forward folded, bring the knees together. You're going to come onto all fours now. So hands and knees, you can move any props out of the way. Hands and knees, shoulders over your wrists, knees over your hips. You're actually just going to take a child's pose. So knees as wide as the mat, big toes touch. Take a child's pose. So maybe you use a couple of props here. If the hips are not comfortably resting on the heels, you can bring a blanket and bring that over your calves. If the forehead isn't touching the mat, you can bring a block underneath your head. And from here, take a downward facing dog. So extending through the arms, reaching those hips away from your heels, curl toes under, lift hips up and back to downward facing dog. Getting a little bit into the hamstrings here. You can pedal out the feet one at a time, just briefly. And from here, reach your right leg up towards the sky for a moment. Can you open up the hips towards the right? Then bend that lifted leg. You're getting long in the left side body. Draw that left hip back. Just opening up through the side of the body, through that hip a little bit. Can your shoulders and chest still square towards the mat as you draw, lift that leg up and back? Then straighten through that right leg, square the hips out towards the mat. Step that foot between the hands as best you can. Stepping that foot between the hands as best you can. So if it landed not like underneath the knee, just with the help of a hand, just move that foot up there, or kind of caterpillar toes that foot towards the front more. And this is where you might come onto blocks. So have blocks framing your foot. And you're lunging low here, and if that back knee is sensitive, maybe put a blanket under that back knee if it feels a little tender or sensitive. You're on blocks, you're pressing through that front heel, your low belly is lifting. Chest lengthens up. Maybe you just stay here if you'd like. You come into Anjaneyasana, so full kind of low lunge position here, reaching the arms up towards the sky. Pressing through that front heel, lift your frontal hip points. Again, can there be a little scissoring action of your inner thighs? Maybe you descend a little lower into that front knee. The knee stays over the ankle. You're feeling a stretch in that frontal hip flexor. So common to have that part be tight in the body. Start to reach the chest up towards the sky. Maybe that lifts the gaze. If the arms stay straight, bring the palms to press. Exhale, bring the hands down. You can move those blocks out of the way. Curl those back toes under and straighten through the back leg. And step it back to downward facing dog. Let's do the other side. Inhale, left leg lifts up towards the sky. Open the hips up towards the left and start to bend that lifted leg. Can you draw your right hip back at long in the right side body? Can that further open up the hips towards the side? Can your chest and shoulders still square towards the mat, getting so large in your left side body? Then start to straighten that lifted leg, square the hips towards the mat. On a deep exhale, can you step that foot between the hands as high up as you can? Get it up there. Maybe move it up with the help of a hand. Heel toe that foot towards the front. And bring your hands onto blocks. So blocks in line with your foot. The low belly's lifting, like you want to lift it away from your thigh. Chest draws up. You're pressing through that heel. Again, can the low belly lift? So we're lifting the low belly, not just to get strong in the belly, but to lengthen your back body. Low back lengthens down towards that back knee. And again, giving yourself any padding under that right knee if you need it. Reach the arms up towards the sky if you feel stable. And start to lift the chest up towards the sky. Maybe that lifts the gaze. Can the chest almost start at that right hip as you reach up? Maybe palms press up above you. And exhale, bring the hands down, moving those props out of the way. Curl toes under, straighten back leg, step it back to downward facing dog. All right. From here, take a brief child's pose again, just giving your arms a break. Child's pose. Maybe arms come down by your sides, palms face up. And taking stock already of the work that you did. So inner thighs stretched a little bit. A little bit of outer hip action. Frontal hip for sure. Reach those arms out in front of you again. Take another downward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg up towards the sky. Exhale, place that foot between the hands as high up there as you can get it. Bring the back knee to the mat. From here, we're going to try to come into lizard pose. So bring two blocks on the inside of your foot. Walk your right foot out to the side a little bit. So you have a little more space on the inside of your foot. I want you to angle the right toes out to the side like at a 45-degree angle. You're going to come onto the outer edge of that foot and kind of open up the knee out to the side. So I want this foot to be very flexed on the right side, right? You're lifting the inner foot and the foot is flexed. Then your hands are on blocks. Maybe you come onto your forearms onto those blocks. And you can have whatever height you want on those blocks too. They can be medium height. They can be the highest height. But I want you to feel like you're forward folding a little bit here. You're going to feel a deep opening in that right hip. If you want to take this a step further, maybe you curl the back toes under and straighten through that back leg. Lizard pose, huge pose for that right hip. The knees are the boss, okay? So if the knees are ever in any pain, back off, okay? That's why we're flexing this foot like this. If you still feel any pain, just flatten that foot and bring the knee straight forward. Still deep, deep opening in the hip. Gently bring that back knee down. Bring the right foot flat onto the mat. Move those blocks out of the way for a moment. We'll switch sides. So pressing into the hands, curling back toes under, step it back to downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg lifts up towards the sky. Deep exhale, step that foot between the hands. Back knee comes to the mat to start. Bring those blocks to the inside of your foot. Move the left foot off to the side a little bit. Turn those left toes out 45 degrees, and then you're going to come to the outer edge of that foot. And then come onto your forearms on those blocks. So whatever height you want on those blocks, maybe you don't need them at all. They're usually pretty helpful to have a little bit of height. So curl back toes under, straighten through that back leg. Getting a deep stretch in your left hip, in your right hip. And taking a couple more breaths here. Knees are happy. Chest gently draws forward. Gently start to bring the knee back down on the back leg. Left foot plants into the mat. Blocks move off to the side. Those back toes curl under. Press yourself up and back to downward facing dog. Holding. Great. From here, take another brief child's pose. So feeling with every child's pose that maybe the body is just a little more open. Your body can fold into itself a little more. And start to walk the hands back towards your legs. And from here, come on to your back, please. Coming onto your back, you can bend the knees, bring your feet as wide as the mat, knock the knees in. Just always finding this neutral position for a moment, just to give your spine this time to really find a beautiful flat surface. You can rest your hands on your body, just holding here for a moment. Great. Bring your feet a little closer to one another. You're going to thread the needle. So lifting your right leg up towards the sky, turn that right leg 45 degrees out to the side, and then cross that foot over the left thigh. So flexing that foot a lot on the right side. Maybe you just stay here. Maybe you gently press that right knee away from you with the help of your hand. If you want more, you want to feel this in the outer hip. You can draw this left knee in towards your chest. Interlace your hands behind that thigh. Draw that knee in towards your chest. Flex through that right foot. Outer hip stretch. Maybe the forearm kind of gently presses the right knee away from you just a little bit. The spine is nice and long on the mat. Great. Gently release that. Keep the foot crossed. Just bring the left foot flat onto the mat. Bring the arms out to the sides. Turn this into a twist. Gently drop those knees towards the left. Can you think of still drawing that right hip away from your chest? Gently bring it back to center. Now you can uncross that leg, reach the left leg up towards the sky, turn it out 45 degrees, cross that ankle over the right thigh. One hip might be different from the other. Maybe you just gently press that left knee away from you with your hand. Maybe you interlace your hands behind your right thigh, bring that knee in towards your chest so the right foot comes off the mat. Your spine is so nice and long here. Left forearm gently presses into the left leg if that's available to open up that knee more, get more into that stretch, outer hip stretch here. Gently release the interlace that you have. Bring the foot flat on the mat on the right side, but keep the foot crossed. Bring the arms out to the sides. Just gently drop those legs towards the right. So still trying to draw that left hip away from your chest. Just a little bit of a twist here. Great. Gently bring it back to center. Uncross the legs, hug both knees in towards your chest. And last thing here, you can cross your right leg over your left. So you're now crossing like at the knees, so it's like a deeper cross. Maybe you just hug that in towards your chest. See if you can scoop up your heels from here. So maybe it's like shin to knee kind of more, or you're crossing at the knees. You're going to try to scoop up your heels and kind of bring the heels out to the side. So it's a similar stretch that we just had in Thread the Needle, maybe a little more intense. And trying to draw those legs in towards your chest and heels out to the sides. Spine still nice and long. Gently release that, uncross the legs. Again, knees are happy, that's why we flex the feet. So if the knees are not happy, just loosen the grip a little bit or just take Thread the Needle again. Crossing the left leg over the right, maybe just drawing that formation in towards your chest. Maybe you scoop up the heels. Your spine is nice and long on the mat. If you scoop up the heels, maybe the heels are kind of close to your hips, or maybe you start to lift the heels away from your hips. Kind of move them out to the sides. And take 2 more breaths here. And gently release that. Release the cross of the legs, hugging those knees in towards your chest. Last thing here, happy baby, grabbing onto the outer edges of your feet from the insides of your knees. Your spine is nice and long. Maybe the heels stack over your knees. Maybe the feet are kind of close together like the bound angle pose with the legs facing up towards the sky. Whatever variation you choose, your spine is nice and long. Maybe you rock a little bit side to side if that feels okay. Gently just draw your knees in towards your chest. And as you're ready, just extend the legs out onto the mat just for a couple of seconds, arms down by your sides, just receiving the work that you did, taking stock. Eyes closed if that feels okay. Backs of the legs opened. Outer hips open, front hips. A lot of work happened. Inner thighs. If you can allow another minute or so in this corpse pose, then give yourself that minute. If not, start to bring movement back to the body, lengthening your breath. Reach your arms up and back as you bring your knees in. Just rock to one side and prop yourself up to a seat, maybe sitting on a blanket. And again, maybe this posture feels a little more accessible than when we started, right? Because the hips are nice and open. Bring your hands to your heart, bow your head. Thank you so much for joining us. This is FitScope. Namaste.